The woman in the sharp navy blue suit stood silently at the back of the crowded conference room. Her eyes scanned the buzzing audience, young professionals, hopeful interns, tired employees sipping their third coffee of the day. But her focus wasn't on any of them. It landed softly on one girl, seated in the last row, her clothes modest, eyes bright, and back perfectly straight despite the exhaustion written on her face. The CEO's wife smiled faintly, remembering that rainy morning on the train. She would never forget the kindness. And today, the world would know who that girl was. 3 weeks earlier, Emily Carter pulled her fraying gray coat tighter around her shoulders as she stepped onto the packed subway train. Rain pelted the windows like tiny fists, and the air inside the carriage was a humid mixture of wet umbrellas, tired sighs, and the faint hum of pop music leaking from someone's headphones. It was another long morning. Emily was a junior marketing assistant at Braven Tech, a towering software corporation with strict rules, fast deadlines, and almost no room for error. At 24, she had dreams of climbing higher, but reality kept her grounded, her mother's medical bills, her little brother's school tuition, and the constant threat of eviction. Still, she showed up every day, arriving an hour early and leaving long after most lights went out. Her coworkers barely noticed her, and her boss once called her Ella for 3 months straight. But Emily never complained. That day, she was lucky to find a seat, her backpack clutched on her lap, rain dripping from her sleeves. Her eyes flicked to the time, 6:37 a.m. If the train didn't stall again, she'd be at her desk by 7:20. Just enough time to freshen up before the 8 o'clock meeting she wasn't technically invited to, but always prepared notes for. As the train jerked forward, an older man stumbled past, followed by a woman who looked far too elegant for a subway ride. Her coat was tailored, her shoes pristine, but it was her belly that drew Emily's attention, a very pregnant belly. The woman looked around, one hand supporting her back, the other clutching the silver pole. Her eyes met Emily's for a second. She didn't ask. She didn't need to. Without hesitation, Emily stood. "Please, take my seat." The woman blinked, as if surprised. "Oh, I'm okay, really." "You're not," Emily interrupted softly. "And I've had worse mornings." There was something genuine in Emily's tone, something that made the woman smile. "Thank you. That's very kind. No big deal." Emily offered a shy grin and clung to the metal pole, swaying with the train's rhythm. For the next 15 minutes, they rode in silence. But the woman kept sneaking glances at Emily, at her worn-out coat, the patched sleeve, the fraying bag. Her kindness hadn't come from abundance. It had come from choice. That stuck with her. When her stop came, the pregnant woman nodded once, pressing her hand briefly to Emily's arm. "You're a good person. I hope someone tells you that today." Emily just smiled and waved. "You take care of that baby, okay?" She stepped off, soaked once again by the relentless rain, and disappeared into the crowd. By the end of that day, Emily had been yelled at twice, skipped lunch to finish reports that weren't hers, and stayed behind to tidy the meeting room after an executive presentation she wasn't allowed to speak in. Her feet ached. Her stomach growled. Her spirit wilted. But when she finally walked out of the building at 9 p.m., she still smiled faintly, remembering that unborn baby. Somehow, that smile had made her day a little lighter. 3 days later, everything changed. The company's CEO, Richard Holloway, a man rumored to be colder than the moon, announced a sudden corporate initiative, a scholarship program for young employees showing exceptional character and work ethic. Everyone buzzed with questions. Who was it for? What had happened? Emily didn't think much of it. She returned to her desk, typed her reports, and helped another intern clean the break room. Life moved on. Until the following week, when she was called into a meeting. A senior HR manager smiled awkwardly and handed her a sealed envelope. "What is this?" Emily asked, puzzled. "Just open it." Inside was a letter, typed formally, signed by Richard Holloway himself. "Dear Miss Carter, you may not know this, but small actions can cause great waves. Recently, you gave up your seat to a pregnant woman on the train. That woman is my wife. She came home that day in tears, not because she was uncomfortable, but because someone she didn't know showed her more care than most of her friends have during this pregnancy. She told me your name. She told me your face. And now, I want the world to know your heart." The letter went on to offer her a promotion, mentorship directly under one of the company's top VPs, full funding for a marketing certification of her choice, and most shockingly, a generous health grant for her mother's treatments. Emily's hands shook as she finished reading. At the next town hall, the CEO stood before hundreds of employees. His voice was calm, but firm. "We often reward performance," he said. "But today, we reward kindness." He gestured to the side. Emily stepped out, eyes wide, cheeks burning. The room erupted in applause. In the front row, the CEO's wife clapped the loudest, a baby bump now more visible beneath her soft dress. "She didn't do it for recognition," the CEO continued. "She didn't know who my wife was. She just saw someone in need and acted. That's the kind of person we need more of in this world, and in this company." Emily couldn't speak. Her throat tightened. Her eyes blurred. But as she stood there, among a sea of people who finally saw her, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time, belonging. In the months that followed, Emily flourished. Her ideas were finally heard. Her mother received better care. Her little brother got a scholarship. She no longer arrived early to go unnoticed, but to lead meetings. She wasn't Ella anymore, she was Emily Carter, and people remembered her name. And on mornings when the train was full, and she saw someone struggling to stand, she never hesitated to offer her seat. Because she knew now, more than ever, kindness never goes unnoticed. It just waits for the right moment to return.